Welcome to Component 3 AMC Lesson 3. This is the third and final lesson on break-even. For this lesson are very much looking at the benefits and limitations of using break-even analysis. So we'll have a quick dabble with remembering how to calculate break-even and what's needed on charts of break-even, but we're now looking at the analysis of using this as a financial tool. Here's the work list for break-even lesson 3. There are 6 tasks on there. Margin of safety, a new area that we're looking at. We're looking at the formula and the purpose. Then we're going to start evaluating break-even, thinking about our break-even line straight. We're going to revise the figures for break-even charts. How can break-even help a business? What are the problems of it? And we're going to look into the break-even lines a little bit further. A reminder on the break-even formula. Break-even output is fixed costs over selling price minus variable cost. Or if you prefer to see it written algebraically, yeah, I made that one up, it's FC over SP minus VC. Here's our lovely example to make sure that you've got it. If fixed costs are £2,000 and sales price is £4, variable cost is £2, what is break-even? So first of all, sales price minus variable cost, that gives us £2. 2 divided into 2,000 gives us, you guessed it, 1,000. So my little sugary peeps, is that £1,000 or 1,000 units? The answer is
units.
Margin of safety. This is the new one. The margin of safety is the difference between the level of output and the break-even point. It shows how much sales may decrease before the firm will suffer a loss. The formula is actual output minus actual sales equals margin of safety. This is a formula that you will need to know. So let's just check you were paying attention. What is meant by the margin of safety? And question 2, why would a company need to know margin of safety? So the first question was what it is, and the second one is why do you need to know it and how is it useful? So we've got to think about the reason you've just seen on the last slide about that allowed decrease. Why is that allowed decrease useful? Well, here's some food for thought now. This is another one of asking your opinion, much like question 2. Question 3 is, do fixed costs actually always stay the same? So your electricity bill, your gas bill, all the wages, do they always stay fixed at one number for the entire year? Question 4, do variable costs always work on a straight line? Same things now, because we've got variable costs are the cost of raw materials. Do the cost of all these raw materials always stay exactly the same no matter who the supplier is? What do they really look like? And question 5, are sales revenues always straight? Does a company performance always go upwards in a straight line? You've probably picked up a bit of a theme here, and you'd be right, because there are a few reasons why figures may change. For example, an enterprise's cost may increase, which will increase the break-even point. An enterprise may raise its prices, which means it will reach break-even sooner. But then there's always things like the cost of supplies. Is that always in the straight line? And can you always have an ever-increasing sales revenue because a company is guaranteed more and more customers on an exponential rate that the graph recommends? So let's explore what causes break-even to change a little bit more. We have an increase in sales, so the margin of safety is going to increase as well. A decrease in sales, the margin of safety, guess what, decreases. If sales fall below the break-even point, the enterprise makes a loss. An increase in prices, break-even point falls, the enterprise reaches break-even through fewer sales. A decrease in price, break-even point rises and more sales are needed to break even. An increase in costs, that's fixed or variable, the number of sales required to break even increases. Profit levels are likely to fall. A decrease in costs, that's fixed or variable, the break-even point is lower, so the enterprise makes more profit. Question 6. Looking at the output on a break-even chart, there's a little mini one for you to have a look at. What does it assume? Look at all the lines. Is it realistic? This is your chance for your opinion, so that's the answer to question 6. Question 7. Let's break down what we're starting to examine. 7a. List the costs which make the total cost line. So what goes into the total cost line? 7b. Explain the space marked by the curly bracket in between the fixed costs and the total costs. What do we call that area? 7c. Explain the space marked by the blue triangle in between total costs and total revenue. These are discussions we've covered earlier on in the lesson, so right now we want to try and capture what's been said, so I'd like you to write it down here. The benefits of break-even analysis. Break-even analysis is a useful planning tool for an enterprise. Break-even analysis helps enterprise owners to identify key financial information. It also helps them set appropriate targets. Let's look at these benefits in the box. Number 1, both the fixed and variable costs can be identified. Projected sales revenue is calculated. These are all the things the enterprise owner will do. The owner knows how many items must be sold to make a profit because they're calculating it. Usually they do this before they start operating. Number 4, the owner can make adjustments to try to make a profit sooner. For example, reduce costs by obtaining cheaper materials or selling at an increased sales price. The margin of safety is known, so they know just how much they can drop by before they have to start making different financial arrangements. And number 6, the best goods are stocked and sold in order to maximise profit. Question 8. Discuss the actions a business might take if sales started to fall, ideally without adding too much to costs. Remember to relate your answer to the concept of break-even. Now, we looked at some of the limitations in the effect on break-even in slide 8. Just to give you a bit of a nudge, if we've got an increase in sales, the margin of safety increases, but if it's a decrease in sale, well then the margin of safety decreases. So here, if we've got sales fall, that's a direct impact on margin of safety. If the sales fall, we've got potentially might need to look at increase in price to make up for the difference. If we've got an increase in price, break-even points will fall, and you would reach break-even through fewer sales. But will you have happy customers? So a decrease in costs, that's a good point. So if sales started to fall, what could we do? Now, I've given you some hints so far from slide 8. We've got here on slide 10, we've got some pointers here. So that should be enough for you to go on with in order to write your response and your extended answers in the box below. The limitations of break-even analysis. We know that break-even is a powerful way to visually see a company's potential of when they might start to make a profit at different stages of production. But what are the risks to a business of not calculating break-even? Let's have a look at that box. We've got costs are not known or are too high. The sales price is too high or too low, so it's an ineffective pricing strategy. The third one, the owner has no idea how many items need to be sold to make a profit, and the enterprise makes a loss over a long period of time without taking any actions to resolve the situation. The margin of safety is known, so they didn't have a buffer in order to start making the right decisions. And the last point, stock cost too much, so they didn't actually look at any supply of raw materials, and they might even be selling at the wrong price, maybe selling at less than cost price, so they're selling at a loss, and therefore the enterprise or company fails. Question 9a. What problems might a business face if they haven't worked out BEP? So this is your chance to summarise from the box above, not copy and paste, summarise. Question 9b, a bit more specific now. What problems might a business face if they haven't worked out margin of safety? Now we did just cover that when we were exploring all the bullet points above, so we need to single those facts out for the answer for 9b. 9c. What problems might a business face if they don't know their fixed costs? That was throughout the actual discussion over the bullet points, so this is your chance to summarise it for 9c. Can a business really afford to assume that they can sell other products? Should a business not hold any stock? Is business life always a straight line? These are some of the questions that we need to get our heads around in terms of being able to financially analyse a business performance. Break-even assumes all costs and revenue and the business conditions stay the same, staff wages stay the same, rent stays the same, and utilities bills, electricity, gas, water, never fluctuate. Break-even is most effective when businesses have one product to sell only, but is that actually the case that most businesses only ever have one product? It also assumes that prices for goods never change, never changing because of the cost of raw material which goes up, or never changing if a business finds savings if they can buy materials in bulk and therefore they get bulk savings. And finally, break-even is a useful tool when the inputted figures are accurate, which depends on the business owner keeping accurate records. Can we always guarantee that? Effectiveness of break-even. Well, we've explored the impacts on break-even. We've had a discussion on what's happening to the lines. So let's now actually look at the lines and see what's going on. Question 10a. What is happening in this chart to fixed costs? Literally describe what you see on the line and see if you can suggest a reason for it happening. 10b. What is happening in this chart to total costs? 10c. What is happening in the last chart to revenue? Describe what you see and see if you can suggest a reason for that happening. And the final question, 10d. What is causing the changes to these three lines above? So you are allowed to have your opinion. You've looked at each of the changes, you suggested something. So what causes these changes? This is about you thinking about particularly the climate we're living in at the moment. What's causing prices to change? Well done, you've done it. You've made it to the end of the work list for lesson 3. You have completed all those tasks, all the 6 tasks. You have completed all the analysis, the evaluation of break-even. You have nailed all the break-even charts and the practice formulas as well. Well done. Woohoo!